Welcome to the National Black Law Student Association Attorney Spotlight Series. My name is Julie Wenna. I'm your 2011-2012 National Director of Education and Career Development, and I'm also your host. We are hosting the Attorney Spotlight Series as an opportunity for NBLSA members to get some insight into the practice of law from leading attorneys and practitioners across the nation. We have the pleasure today of interviewing Ms. Elizabeth Campbell, who is the Chief Diversity Officer for Kurth in Houston, Texas. Welcome, Elizabeth. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much. My pleasure.
Ms. Campbell, will you tell us a little bit about your experience right now at Kurth and what you do in your capacity?
Sure. I started with Kurth as a partner and the Chief Diversity Officer in February 2007. My work is completely strategic. I don't have an active practice of law right now, so when you talk about non-traditional roles, this is an example of one. I came here with the goal of building and implementing a comprehensive diversity and inclusion strategy. So that strategy that I worked on, in conjunction obviously with the Diversity Committee and our Women's Initiative team, has three principal components. There's a marketing and branding component. That's the outward-facing piece. There's an internal-facing piece on human capital, the recruitment, hiring, retention, development, and promotion of talent. And then the last piece deals with supplier diversity and community development. So really, that's my job. And over the time that I've been here, it has morphed into simply working on the diversity and inclusion components of the firm's strategic business plan.
So diversity in the legal profession is something that a lot of law firms, a lot of organizations are starting to focus a lot on. What is the impact that diversity plays in organizations, firms, maybe in just the expansion or being exposed to people from different socioeconomic backgrounds, and the importance that plays in the legal community?
That's a great question, because I have to tell you that there is probably some confusion out there about what we mean by diversity and inclusion. The people like me who do this work, and there are many, many more people at various levels in organizations focusing on diversity and inclusion, we are strategists. We don't deal in simply compliance, an important role, complying with our equal employment opportunity laws and civil rights, and understanding what's the right thing to do and what's good for the country, and all of that's wonderful stuff. But people like me really understand the dynamics, the organizational dynamics that a focus on diversity and inclusion can have, from developing talent and leveraging that talent with our clients. So if you hire everyone who goes to the same school, or everyone who came from the same geography, or everyone who has the same background and experiences, there's a limited amount of talent that they can bring to the table vis-a-vis clients. The clients basically would get one perspective. So the real value of diversity and inclusion is when you can leverage it to increase innovation, increase creativity, to increase and enhance problem solving for the benefits of our clients. And the legal industry is appreciating that now. Our clients see the value of this within their own organizations as corporations. So they have diversity professionals, and they have a focus in the legal department on that, and they want to see it in their outside law firms. Hence the rise in the focus of people working in the area of diversity and inclusion. But it is all about business. If you're not talking about the business case, if you don't really have this anchored down on why our clients should want this and why this should matter to partners in the firm and owners of businesses, then it's not sustainable. It really isn't.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about your law school experience. Basically, maybe your involvement in BOSS or in organizations, and what maybe fostered the desire to recognize the importance of diversity in the legal community. And not only, let's talk about your law school experience, what about your transition into the legal profession, and how was that, for our third-year law students that are going to be transitioning into the profession, what are some key things they need to be informed about?
Great. Well, first of all, I suspect that they're far better prepared than I am. I think the BLSA and BLSA have done a great job over the 20 plus years since I got out of law school. I had a wonderful time in law school, and I look back fondly. I was active in BALSA, but on my campus. I was not a representative in any of the regional BALSAs or national. But you know, it's the networking, it's the learning that takes place, the informal mentoring within the law school. One class, I still remember my my first year mentor, he was a third year, and telling me these things, and you know, I'm wide-eyed and I don't really know what I've gotten myself into. Wanted to be a lawyer so long that I really didn't study. I didn't look into it. I didn't examine it. I didn't talk to any lawyers. I knew I wanted to be a lawyer when I was 11, and by golly, that's what I was going to do. And when I showed up in law school, I had no clue what the courses were like, what the expectations were. So the mentoring that took place within the law school and within BALSA was key, really, to my growth and development as a student. Now, you know, the three L's coming out. First of all, they probably have more exposure to practice. When I went to law school, in the law school I went to, we really didn't have much practical classes that focused on the actual practice of law. We were real good on the theory and real good on the academics, but we weren't really into teaching people how to practice law. And some people would say that that's still a shortcoming of many of our law schools. And that's fine. Law school teaches you how to think. And thinking and the ability to analyze and solve problems is what we do for a career. But getting ready to transition from being a student to being a practitioner requires a completely different mindset. Many of your 3Ls now have worked for law firms, or they've taken clinical courses during law school. So they have a much better sense of the following. Here's a good example. Client calls and asks you a question. Client is about to buy a business. Client doesn't want a 25-page memorandum. That's about the last thing the client wants. The client wants to know, what are the key laws I need to comply with, what's the approximate timetable, and how much is this going to cost me? So as a practitioner, you have to be focused on the client's end game. And it's sort of, we will do the thoroughness and the due diligence and the legal research that's required, but communicating with the client, we'll learn about one-pagers, we'll learn about executive summaries, we'll learn about getting to the point, because the client doesn't have time to engage in this sort of theoretical discussion with you. Right. And making that transition sometimes is difficult, because all we've known as law students is how to research and write. You know, and the more we're writing, the better it is. And sometimes in the real world, it's not like that.
Well, when we're in the real world and we're trying to set ourselves apart from our colleagues, you know, personal branding is something that is one of our focuses under building pipelines for the future. And we recognize the importance of pipelines. And in that, in personal branding, setting yourself apart from your colleagues, what are some of the key things that law students should be focused on now, setting themselves apart?
Great. One word, authenticity. It's used a lot, there's a lot written about it, a lot of presentations, and I certainly talk about it a lot. Personal branding has to be unique to you. It has to be something you own. I can't be you. I can't want your dreams, your passions. They're not mine. But I'm true to my own. And once you analyze and decide what your passion is, the branding will follow. You will naturally be very, very good at promoting yourself. There's no better you than you. And so you have to take some time step back and figure out, you know, what are the things that you like to do. There's a reason why in this economy entrepreneurship is growing, why there's so many women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses right now that are actually thriving in a challenging economy. That's because people who own their own businesses have decided what it is that will get them up every day and anxious to get to work and will keep them up late at night, and they don't mind because they're doing something they love to do. Well, the practice of law has those elements as well. And if you figure out what is it that you really like doing, that you're willing to research about, that you're willing to think about, that you're willing even maybe to get ahead of yourself about. You know, maybe the rest of the legal world is on first base, but you're already thinking about third base. You've written an article, you've writing on a journal or a law review, and you're really thinking about something that's yours, that's unique to you, and that becomes your personal brand. And once you hone in on that then enables you to distinguish yourself from your competitors.
Wow. authenticity is a great word. I think that's the perfect word to describe how someone should personal brand themselves, identifying who they are, what's important to them, and where their passions lie, and go from there. You talked about the economy and how, even with in the midst of the economic crisis that we're in now, entrepreneurs are still thriving, and that's amazing.